showed principles of God, and yet Jesus still said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. So then, does that mean then that we cannot overthrow any government? As if Rome can be considered a God-mandated government, then couldn't all governments be considered God-mandated?
I see what you're saying, and that's actually a good point. And for the purposes of clarity, I should not have used the phrase of give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, because that kind of gives the idea that the Roman government is this God-mandated government. The purpose of using that was to illustrate the idea of give to the mandated government what is the mandated government. So that's a way more long-winded way of saying it. I don't know if the Roman government, yes, God says give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, which may be tied to that idea of, or proposed in Romans 13. It may be tied to a different idea. I don't know. I would have to do some study on that specific passage and what God says, and I'd probably have to go back to the original Greek.
Last question.
We'll go Jonathan, because I haven't heard from him either.
My question would be, could we be totally, like, looking at this totally from a different perspective? Because my perspective, as a question for you, would be, God has a plan for everything. If you look at Romans 13, it says he has the rulers in place for a reason. But if you look at, for instance, Exodus, with Moses uprising against Egypt, could it be that God decides when to tell us when to go up against the government, and instead of us choosing when we decide to go rise up against the government?
Sure. Like I said later in my paper, God has authority over everything. So if see, but God doesn't contradict himself. So I guess in that, since God does not contradict himself, and he says, obey governments, I could say God has authority, supreme authority that, overrides governmental authority. And so let's say hypothetically there is a government that is God mandated, and so we are to obey it, but God says, don't obey it. That would be God contradicting himself, which is impossible. God is God. He is constant. He doesn't contradict himself. So in that case, I would say that, I guess concretely, the Egyptian government was not a God-mandated government because God told Moses to rebel from it. That one's kind of an iffy one that I just thought of now. But I would say, based on what I've put here, that the Egyptian government would concretely be not a God-mandated government because God told Moses to rebel against it, and I don't believe God contradicts himself because of who God is. That's about the best answer I can give to that one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to take just a couple moments, and we'll have Ms. Hobson up, and we'll keep rolling right along. And onliners, I am sorry that we have lost connection for so much of the time, but we're very glad to have you guys with us, and glad to have you back.